Hey, John, we're back for another awesome interview. How are you, dude?
I'm good, Kurt. How are you?
I'm just so fired up for this one. So, man, we're here at Apparel Redefined. My dear buddy, John LaRoy. John, we've been hitting these up every week, just having a great time. And we've been pulling in some awesome folks who are just dedicated to fashion and branded apparel. And we've got our good buddy, Rock Pages in the house here. Rock, how are you, man?
I'm good. How about yourselves?
Hey, we're doing fantastic. And so, a few things I want to dive in. You've got a fascinating business, really interesting background. We want to dive into your background a little bit. So, let's go back in time before entrepreneurship. What kind of, you've got a corporate career. Just give us a little background on yourself and what was your journey early on?
Okay. Well, I started out as a graphic designer. I grew up in Indianapolis and always had a love of art. I come from a line of artists. My grandfather was a self-taught painter. My
Nice.
father did sculpture. My aunts and uncles, they all did art too, but none of them actually really pursued it as a full-time career. But as a kid, I always loved doing it. I always loved making money with my art. And I would draw, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, so I would draw like Ninja Turtles and Treasure Trolls and all these things and make comic books and sell them to my friends. And when I would come home with, $5 or $10 from something I drew, I said, hey, I can make money doing this. So fast forward, I went to Arsenal Technical High School in Indianapolis, graduated in 2000, and went to Ball State University in Muncie, Indiana, where I majored in fine arts graphic design. And I really loved my time there, and I just knew I still wanted to pursue art. So after graduation, I moved to Chicago and I got a job with Ebony and Jet magazine, which at the time were two of the largest Black publications in the country. Um, I was there for about 4 years, and then I went over to the Chicago Tribune, where I worked there for 7 years. And there, I helped launch a teen publication called The Mash, which was like if anyone's familiar with it, Red Eye, which was like the commuter paper for quite a number of years in Chicago. It was like a teen version of Red Eye where high school students would write the stories, and it would actually distribute it throughout high schools throughout Chicagoland. And so that was a great opportunity just to, really, take charge of the brand, really get to mold it and help create the voice and the feel of the brand and shape its direction. After that, I went on to what they call the Blue Side, which is the actual Chicago Tribune, where I was a features art director for the food and dining section, entertainment, automotive, things like that. But as the newspaper industry started to decline, I decided to leave the paper because it was just uncertain times. And I took a job with an engineering firm called STV, and I worked in their creative services department. And even though it paid well, it was honestly one of the most boring jobs I ever had in my life. It was just I went to art school. I worked for one of the largest newspapers and magazines in the country, and I'm used to seeing my work on like the newspaper stands or at the checkout line at the grocery store. I'd say, "Hey, I designed a cover." Or I did that, and I went from doing that to designing proposal covers or PowerPoint presentations. And it was just be an intersection of like Halsted and 95th Street or something in Chicago, and nothing fancy about it, nothing sexy about it, and it was just honestly killing my soul as a designer and an artist. And so that's what really prompted me to go full time into entrepreneurship. I had some friends that were in the t-shirt businesses, and they really weren't, designers or anything, but they were actually, just printing shirts, whether it's with a Cricut or screen printing or vinyl or those things. I'm like, why can't I do that myself? I know I can make great shirts. I can do great designs. I've just, seen my work all over the country. Why can't I make a t-shirt? And so after a lot of planning and prayer and even talking to my wife, I I decided to go into the t-shirt business, and I started out with a machine called the Oki Data Pro, which is a heat transfer system. I just knew I wanted to do full color shirts, be able to do one at a time, not really have to worry about bulk. And that's what really got me started. I started the ROCKaBLOCK in 2017, in November 2017, in the basement of my home. And I just had the heat press, my computer, my printer, and a website. And then that's what started off.
All right, man, that is absolutely phenomenal. So, a couple of things I want to dive into. Uh, you shared that you had artists in your background, right? So, a little bit in your DNA. Was there a particular person? Was there a thing that like really inspired you to pursue, the art? being in the more fashion side? Was there anybody that you want to really credit or any particular thing that drove you that direction?
I think my grandfather, he was probably one of my biggest influences. Even
Nice.
though I didn't really get to spend much time with him growing up, I think last time I saw him, I was about 3 or 4 years old. But I would always hear stories about how he could draw and paint anything, and he only had a third grade education. And then his father was a inventor, and so in 1945 or 46, he actually had a patent for a flying car in upstate New
Really?
York. And I would
Wow.
always hear stories about this flying car, and I'm like, right, a flying car, yeah, right. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I get a package in the mail that one of my cousins she found all the patents and all the drawings and all the newspaper articles. I was like, oh wow, this is legit real. And so just seeing how my family, they love doing art and creative things, but no one ever really pursued. I felt like it was my responsibility to do something with this gift, try to make a sense of it. And I really chose fashion because if you're a gallery artist, you have to go see your work. You have to go to a specific museum or gallery where they might not be able to afford your painting or whatever else. But if you pay $25 for a T-shirt, our art can practically go all over the world. So if one person wears this shirt and they buy it in Chicago, and then next they're in like Egypt or Japan, there's a possibility of people seeing it all over the world. So it just seemed make my art for the people, make it easy and accessible, and just make it impactful and put on a shirt.
Sorry to interrupt, but do you have was there drawings submitted with the patent?
Yeah, the word drawings I don't have them here right now because everything's packed up. But yeah, my grandfather.
That's
So my
awesome.
great grandfather came up with the concept. My grandfather did the initial drawings. And then I think they actually went to like some kind of law firm and actually had the technical drawings. So
Wow.
yeah, there's full schematics of this. It looks like basically a helicopter with wheels, and the propeller blades fold back. And the idea was if you're stuck in traffic, you just open up the
Take off.
propeller blades and take off.
You
And
should. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I think that's a really cool. You could put that on a T-shirt, the drawings,
yeah, so many
or
people have
put
seen,
it in your new shop. Like have that be like the backdrop, like the actual blue. Like that'd be sweet.
oh yeah, I definitely want to do that. And so
Yeah,
it just see I actually have a couple of his original drawings. Well, I took them down, but they're up on my wall of just some paintings he did.
that's
So
awesome.
and just to see that, even though I didn't get to know him much, but to know that piece of him still, lives in me.
Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Very
That is,
cool.
oh, what a great rock. Thank you for
Amazing
sharing that,
story. Yeah.
man. And just, what a pioneer and just ahead of his time. I don't know if I'll live long enough. Hopefully you guys do at some point in time. We will have flying cars and rock. We can credit grandpa on that one, right? So and John, what a brilliant idea to carry grandpa's legacy, slap that on a t-shirt and, carry that out. I'm going to go here, Rock, and John, I want to pull you in on this. I
Hmm.
heard, how many entrepreneurs you hear, started in my garage, right? Steve Jobs, I think Hewlett Packard, you hear all those garage. You started right in your basement, John. You work with tons of folks, dozens and hundreds of entrepreneurs. How often do you hear, hey, I started my garage, started in that basement, just having that leap of faith and that courage? What do you hear from your clients?
I mean, in our industry, pretty much everyone starts in their garage or their basement. It's a very garage. I call it a garage based industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, we hear that all the time, especially you know when you see the downturn in economies of 2008, the dot com bubble. Usually, you see that's when you see our industry have an uptick of essentially people rushing into the industry to get started. There are low barriers to entry. Um, so yeah, it is a very garage slash basement style industry. But when we talk about some of our corporate clients, um, some of them are legacy, where grandpa started it, great grandpa started it, and they're carrying on the family name. Um, but yeah, I mean, most of the time, you hear the same story over and over again. It started on the back of a bar napkin. And it's true. You know what I mean? It always boils down. There's always a seminal moment. There's always a beginning. And then the action after the thought usually starts in the home or, at the bar. And you have to go back to do your work. And most people don't have space. So they got to start in their house. And yeah, it's not a ununique, if that's a word, or a
Yeah.
rare origin story to hear. Most businesses start in the home because that's where you are most of the
That's
time.
right. And
Yeah.
so, Rock, let's go here. What I love what you shared, like, hey, I talked to my wife. So let's go back to 2017 and take us there. You had a great corporate career. You're working at Chicago Tribune. You tip your toe in engineering. Just, and I credit you for having the man of conviction that you are. That what this isn't quite for me. What was it like taking that leap? Was it exciting, scary? What did your wife like? What was going through those first days? If you can go back to 2017.
And it probably goes back to like 2015 or 16, I guess, when the idea kind of
When
started.
it yeah, when it first started, yeah.
It was the most terrifying thing I ever did in my life. Um, but I think just one day I just had this revelation that one day I'm going to wake up an old man and just wish I had done this. Because we all know that person that says, "Oh, I wish I had opened up a restaurant, or I could have played in the NFL, or I wish I had traveled the world, or done all these things when they were younger, or had an opportunity." And there's really just no perfect time to do this. And so I just knew I wanted to get started making shirts. I knew I wanted them to be high quality, um, not to look like they were made in my basement, to look like they came out the store. And and with my background as a designer and a fine artist, I feel like, okay, I can take this. I know a bit about printing because I've had to do press checks and things for the newspaper. Let me see if I can do this for shirts. And so I kept going back and forth with this sales rep from a company called Codesi for probably a good year and a half, getting samples because I didn't want to spend thousands of dollars on this machine and then I wash the shirt and it just comes off. So she kept sending me samples and I kept going back and forth. And finally I said, okay, I'm gonna bite the bullet. And at the time I took out it felt like a humongous loan, like $11,000. And I bought this machine. And it came in on this big Mack truck on my residential street. And then the lady dropped off. It was like just a crate, one little crate, but this Mack truck is on my street. And I was like, okay, this is it. And so I made the announcement on Facebook, like right before Thanksgiving or right after. I said, all right, this is it. And I told my wife, like, this thing's going to have to pay for itself. I don't know what's going to happen, but this thing's going to have to pay for itself for the most part. And I had no idea if people thought the name ROCKaBLOCK was going to be stupid. Even though people like my name Rockland, I'm like, let's see if they want a ROCKaBLOCK shirt. And so I didn't know anything about web design or e-commerce. I just went for it. But it was terrifying. It was scary to put yourself out there, for scrutiny, because if people don't buy your stuff, I mean, it's kind of attacking yourself because I'm pouring myself onto these shirts. But people have been really supportive, especially then and over the years.
Yeah, I love that. So, all right, let's dive in. So, ROCKaBLOCK is the name of the company, your founder. Just what an inspiring story, my friend. That is just fantastic. And it was just, John and I love hearing these origin stories. So, let's dive into ROCKaBLOCK and please share with folks, again, you got it started, came from an idea, turns into like a little bit of a side hustle. Now it turns into a business. How do you guys make the world a better place? Dive into what do you guys do at ROCKaBLOCK?
Okay, well, ROCKaBLOCK, we've had a few slogans over the years. One was dope shirts for dope people, inspiring shirts for inspire people. Then I changed to created to inspire. I wanted my shirts and designs to be inspiring people, to create conversations, to really get people thinking. And so a lot of my work, and John and, Apparel Redefined has been a big help in this lately, is creating shirts with a message where I share Black history. So the shirt I'm wearing right now is called The Pioneers. And it has six pioneers, six Black pioneers. So Bass Reed, Bessie Coleman, Mary Seacole, and I have people that are well known and not so well known. But it gets people asking, like, "Hey, who's that person? Why are they so important? Why are they on this shirt?" And it creates a dialogue. And the predecessor to this shirt was called the Freedom Fighters, which had Marcus Garvey, Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and several others. And so that, for the last 5, 6 years has been my most popular tee. But now I'm actually incorporating augmented reality into the shirts. And so when you view the shirt through a smartphone, through our Instagram app, all these characters come to life and give you their life story. And so it's not just shirts. I mean, we have stickers, enamel pins, all sorts of things. But people are just like floored. So yeah, here's one of the pins here. If you can see it. All these things actually come to life and talk to you. And it's just been like amazing to see people's reactions to it. So when they say, "Oh, nice shirt," Oh well, check out what it can do, and they just flip out and lose their mind. And it got to the point where at first I was doing these shirts with my heat transfers, but I'll backtrack. So in 2020, and this is where I've come to meet with Apparel Redefined. In 2020, during the pandemic, we're all on lockdown. Um, and I just switched over to screen printing. I just bought like a little Riley Hopkins press to do in my basement. And I was getting ready for the 2020 festival season, and then the world shuts down. And I'm like, oh God, I just spent another like 15 grand on this equipment. What am I going to do? Everything shut down. But out of nowhere, I started getting orders from all around the country. Because at the time we had, the police shootings, the riots, violence. And so people were looking for black owned t-shirt companies. I was one of the first ones to come up. And so people were buying the shirts, people I didn't know, New York, LA, Texas, all these things. Then out of nowhere, I get an email from a producer at ABC7 Chicago. And they're saying, hey, we found your brand online. We love it. We want to feature you on air. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's do it. I've never been on TV before. And so a couple weeks later, I'm in my living room. I'm on my iPad doing a Zoom call. I really couldn't hear anything the anchor was saying, but I'm on live TV, like around 10 o'clock in the morning. And I had on my Freedom Fighter shirt, and I'm just telling about the company, what we're talking about now. And I just remember the last thing the anchor, asked me was, "So, Rock, what's next?" And I'm just so nervous. I'm like, I don't know. I just want to get out the basement. And that's where the interview ended. And so seconds after I got off the air, my phone just blows up with the orders. People calling me, text me saying they saw me on TV, and it was just nuts. Just when my wife and daughter came home, I was just like curled up in the fetal position on the floor because it was just too much coming in at me. And normally I do like maybe 2 or 3 orders a week, if that. I had over 100 I had to fill. Yeah. And then, but one of the people that called me was one of John's employees. And said, "Hey, we see you're doing this, and we think we can help." And there's no way I was going to keep heat transferring these shirts, and so that's where our relationship began. And so this started becoming my printer for the Freedom Fighters and Pioneer shirts because it was just too much for me to handle. And so my production increased, the quality increased, and so this has been a relationship for about 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that's where that origin story started. So, and even though I've been in business, technically for a couple of years at that point, I feel like that was like the genesis, the real birthplace of ROCKaBLOCK. From there, I moved into a storefront not far from my house just to get out of the basement and actually grow the brand. But yeah, so that's where we are now.
Man, Rock, dude, hats off to you because, so many people, again, pursue, someday is not a day of the week, right? Someday I'm going to start my business. Someday I'm going to do this. And so credit you to have the courage. And I love that. As entrepreneurs, we've all been in that little fetal position at one time and another. I don't know about you, John, but I've been there many times. And I just love how, just goofy circumstance, right? Just that persistence, being in the right place, right time. John, don't you love how, like you said, not an uncommon story of how you start, but boy, there's not a story that's the same of how that journey plays out. And what an inspiration to hear Rock's story on how building this business and then how he aligns and partners with you. Just share a little bit of like how you've seen this or your relationship with Rock, what you've seen.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, like you said, the seminal points are usually similar, but after that, it's a spaghetti map. Everyone goes all different ways, and it's really interesting to see. And yeah, I mean, we saw him starting to blow up, especially here in Chicago. And I'm like, I saw a little bit like on the website, and I'm like, man, this guy's going to need some help, if this continues to go. Because a lot of people like WGN, ABC, like our local news here, they do a really good job since the pandemic, like doing like small business spotlights, usually on Fridays and Saturdays. And we've had actually like probably 4 or 5 customers that we work with come in and they do a little feature on it, and it's phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, seeing how impactful that marketing is, and like, that's the one thing that like, Kurt, this is why we're working together, right? Manufacturing how do we become stop being the best kept secret, in your words, right? Or your mom's words, right? And as manufacturers in Rockland, you get this, like, we spend so much time heads down doing this, working on the business, that we don't spend enough time telling people actually what we do. So when ABC7 comes in, knock on your door, like, we're going to tell people for you, it's like, yes, please, but then you don't realize what happens after that, which is good. And yeah, it's just phenomenal to be able to tell your story, because myself, for 19 years, Kurt, and we talk about this a lot, I didn't really think people wanted to hear my story because I'm in my own head. But if it's good enough for you to like, Kurt, then other people might like it too. And Rockland's story is way better than mine. And his popularity is growing. And then even the conversion and the conversations, I mean, with Rock, just a little bit different spelling, but ROQ, who we had, Ross on a couple weeks ago, Kurt, but his partner and Ryan Moore at AllMade, great mission story, great statement behind what he's trying to do, and then partnering with Rockland to kind of merge two worlds together has been phenomenal. And then the augmented reality thing is just so cool. Rockland was here a couple months ago, and that was the first time I saw it live. We've seen thousands of these shirts go through our shop, but I've never actually put the app to it and had the shirt talk to me. I mean, like, it's crazy, but it is so cool. And we talk about this all the time, Kurt, like product, service, experience, right? Well, he just married two together, the product and the experience. You get the experience of the actual freedom fighter, the pioneer, talking to you, telling your story, and then actually a product. I mean, it's phenomenal. Rockland's done a fabulous job, and I wish him all the best. He's got a lot going on. I know the feeling of moving a business. It's absolutely overwhelming, and I don't want to do it again, but we are going to be doing it soon as well. And I don't want to say I'm not looking forward to it, because I'm definitely am. I just know what you're going through, man, and keep going, but it'll get better.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, it's man, Rock, I'll tell you, super inspiring. And I love, I'm a huge history buff. I love how you're carrying the legacy, a wonderful heritage. I'm going to pull up your website in a second, but I want, for folks out there hearing this, augmented reality, they might be like, hey, what are you doing there, Rock? What are you talking about? Why don't you kind of tee us up, and then I want to jump onto your website, because I want to show folks what's going on at ROCKaBLOCK, but just what's going on with the augmented reality.
Okay, well, so some people, they get the acronym wrong, or the abbreviation wrong. They say, "Oh, that's AI." Like, no, that's not intelligent. It's AR, augmented reality. And basically, augmented reality, I'm trying to explain the best way I can, is taking a virtual object or asset and superimposing it on top of a real world object or environment. And we use it all the time. So whether if you're playing Pokemon Go or using a Snapchat filter where you put some bunny ears or dog ears on your face, that's all augmented reality. I just found a different way to do it and combine it with storytelling and history, and just really make it something compelling. So it's not just sure that just lights up or flashes. It does something that actually gives you history and knowledge, and creates conversation. And a couple of museums have actually picked up the pieces and are selling it in their gift shops. And so earlier John mentioned that there's 3 avenues: with product, service, and experience. So now we're delving into the service part, where we're going to be creating augmented reality enhanced apparel for other companies, for other brands. And so it's still in its fledgling, kind of capacity, because I'm still very much a team of one with some consultants. Yeah. But I really think it, shows a lot of promise to, be able to create the service along with the products and experiences for other people.
Well, I absolutely love it.
Awesome.
And John, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, you used that word maturity, and you're such a humble guy. You're like, I'm not crazy about that word, but it's, coming into things with, I love, don't you feel how you're maturing as an entrepreneur, Rock? Like, you go back to what you did 6-7 years ago, and, and I've been at it for 35 years, and I'm still amazed at the dumb mistakes I make on a daily basis. But do you see yourself maturing as an entrepreneur? Like, how do you feel there?
I do. But I feel like I'm making a whole new set of mistakes at times.
Yeah, I do. Same.
And I still find myself curled up in a more of a fetal position, except the price tag is a lot higher than $10,000. But
that's right.
But I see the growth. I definitely see it. I look back at some of my earlier shirts and I cringe. Or if I go to an event and I have a pop up shop, somebody comes wearing one of my old shirts, I'm like, oh, let's get you doing. Let's replace that one.
Yeah.
But I definitely see a lot of growth. I wouldn't say I've been hardened by the industry, but I've been seasoned by all of this. I mean,
Wow.
this beard was jet black when I first started.
That's
So,
well,
uh,
yeah. I had hair when I started too, and I hear you. So that's hey, God bless you, brother. So hey, let's dive in. Let's take a look. We're gonna go on a little field trip, and join me if you will. We're gonna join and check out Rock's website. So Rock, I'm on the hoodie page, and I'm a hoodie junkie, so I had to start here. Just share a little bit. What's going on? What are we looking at?
okay, so right now you're looking at our hoodie selection. So a lot of our shirts come in hoodies and t-shirts and tank tops. Some are just exclusive depending on what the need is for the design. So if I feel the design works better on the hoodie, it'll just stay on the hoodie. But I try to make a little something for everybody. I mean, almost everything's in small batches because a lot of these are still due by hand, screen print by hand. But I focus a lot on humor, culture. So the one you see on the bottom right, if it says if your beard doesn't connect, neither can we. So I'm a bit of a beard aficionado, if you can't tell. And so that's the one thing people remember about me or talk to me about is my beard. And so I just try to come up with like all these little silly quips or things in my mind and see if people resonate with it, and they do. So here's another one said, "Beards are God's gift to women. Salt and pepper beards are His grace." Again, a friend of mine said that to me, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna put that on a shirt." And so that's a great thing about being able to make your own shirts. You can put anything you want on a shirt, and that one's done surprisingly well. Probably the one right here in the bottom left, the Not Today Karen. That's probably the most abrasive design I have so far. Um, and I wasn't even sure how people were going to receive it at first, but people will either love it or hate it. It's been very polarizing, but I feel like it still is one of my strongest pieces that just says a lot without saying a
Wow.
lot. I'm a father, so I try to do things with fatherhood. I feel like dads get the short end of the stick, especially around Father's Day. So I came up with the brand dedicated all day, dad, and so it's actually one of my trademarks as well.
Mhm.
And so that's a whole nother realm of business that I eventually want to dive deeper into. But yeah, I just try to make if something comes to my mind, I just throw it on a shirt or a hoodie or a tank.
Yep.
But as the business is growing, I need to be more structured because the artist in me just wants to create, create, create. But then I got to think about fulfillment, the cost of goods sold, all these things. Now the businessman has to step in, or the bookkeeper has said, hey, you just spent XYZ on blanks and printing, like, but are these going to sell? So now to be more strategic. Here on the t-shirt page, these are definitely some of my staples that are been top sellers for like last 5-6 years. And so every now and then I try to throw new shirts on here. Something kind of funny happens. So this one, born in the 1900s. Again, I had no idea how that one was going to work or people were going to respond. But I try to keep an eye on social media and what people are talking about. And, kids are asking like, Mom, Dad, reborn in the 1900s. And so I'm going to, take some pride in being born in the 1900s. Yeah, so my Juneteenth designs, again, being a bald, bearded, and blessed man, and just some of these most simple designs are some of my best sellers. The simple phrases. But yeah, so you see the pioneers, the dedicated all dad shirt, not today Karen shirt, and I just try to find ways to even if the shirt itself doesn't do anything, I want to create an experience and invoke some emotion or response from either the person wearing it or the person looking at the person wearing it.
Well, combination of things. As a proud dad, we're all dads here. Just I absolutely love this shirt here. I think the Karen is hysterical. And again, earlier in the program, you talked about the Pioneer shirt. Just again, brilliant. Just love the direction. And John, I want to pull you in. What's great, when you see people, again, we talked about, whatever word you want to use, seasoned, more experience, if we want to use that word mature. But isn't it fascinating when you find your clients, how they find their niches, they kind of find their crowd, they find their peeps, if you will, who they resonate with, who they connect with. You want to chime in on that a little bit on like how you see your clients resonate and niche down.
Yeah, I mean, you can totally tell ROCKaBLOCK's artistic skill here. I mean, just looking at the collection, a lot of times you'll see like brands that don't really kind of, like you just said, resonate with people outside of their niche. But like you have 3 or 4 different styles of art in here that are all conveying different messages in different ways, but are very powerful. I mean, I haven't seen some of these yet. This is the first time, and they're phenomenal. They're really good. They're clever, classic. subtle. There's a lot of good stuff in here. But again, like seeing the brand mature and emerge, and seeing ROCKaBLOCK's talent come out is really cool to see, because you look at like the style of the shirt that he's wearing, the freedom fighters, the pioneers, very different than what you're seeing like right now on the screen, but also equally as cool, and very, very true to what he's saying in his mission and his vision. All of that kind of is conveyed through his art, which is, again, the beauty of being in this industry. And you can see the passion for what he does come through in his work. But yeah, it's the website looks clean. It looks, it's obviously is a representation of the business, is your digital storefront, and it looks clean, looks professional, looks awesome. Again, just great work, Rockland.
Thank you.
Yeah, and by the way, I like the taco shirt. I might have to get that one for myself as well, right? I'm not pregnant. I like tacos. I love that. So, Rockland, what else do you want? Anything else that we can share here as far as your website goes? Anything else that we can point out for friends?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, there's so much to see. Even some of this I haven't even looked at in months, just because I'm running around doing everything. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's still up on the site. I need to take that down, or But
are you able to show the augmented reality on the site?
Let's see. If you go to the Freedom Fighter shirt, I think we can go to that.
Let's see. Let me go back one.
Yeah, go to the Adult Freedom Fighter.
This one right here?
The other one. I don't know if I put a video on that. Again, so I got to go back and do a complete audit of my website and make sure everything's up to date.
Yep.
Goes to the homepage.
Is it this one here?
Yeah, to the left, yeah.
Right there. Okay. There we go.
And I think if you go to the images, so scroll down a little bit, you see a video right there.
Right there?
Yeah, this is so cool.
Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and I was born on August 17th, 1887, in St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica. Strength is in my bloodline.
Born Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. My name is Frederick Douglass, and I was conceived under the yoke of oppression on a plantation in Talbot County, Maryland, around 1818.
Born as Araminta Ross. My name is Harriet Tubman, and I was born on a slave breeding plantation in Maryland around 1821. I'm the most well-known conductor on the Underground Railroad.
Born as Isabella Bumfrey, my name is Sojourner Truth. Born into slavery in 1797 in Ulster County, New York.
My name is William Edward Burgart Du Bois, and I was born on February 23rd, 1868, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts.
My name is Ida B. Wells, and I was born into slavery on July 16, 1862 in Holly Springs, Mississippi.
Absolutely love it. That is brilliant, man. What an inspiration that is.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Rock, I'll stop sharing. I'm going to come back to you guys. Dude, what far exceeded my expectations. This was just, you're just such an inspiration. John, I might run through a wall. John has he has all these inspiration things on his wall behind him. And, we've got all this Packer gear, and Vince Lombardi quotes, but man, talking to you, this was just so inspiring. Rock, let's go here as we start winding down. How about business advice? When you started your entrepreneurial journey, maybe something you want to share with like your younger self or younger entrepreneurs, what was the best business advice that you've ever received?
There's so much. But one that really resonates with me now that I'm really even trying to grasp is it's hard to work on your business while working in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I'm still, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. Like if one of my interns doesn't show up, I got to go back and clean screens. I got to go print films or, do all these things.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to, release control or relinquish, certain duties to people. But yeah, I think, that's, it. Say, get a separate bank account from your personal bank account if you're running a business. And I tell people this all the time, go for quality and don't just try to go cheap on, when people start their t-shirt business or the t-shirt journey, a lot of them just go to the nearest hobby store, buy I'm not sure if I can say the name of the vinyl printer here, but they buy that cheap vinyl printer and they think they're going to, be able to sell a $50 t-shirt with that. So I tell people, go for quality. And if you're not about that t-shirt life and, learning the craft, pay the professionals to make it for you.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that's a few of my nuggets right there.
Brilliant advice, my friend. John, parting thoughts, words of wisdom, your takeaways from our conversation with our friend Rock today.
Yeah, first I just want to say thank Rockland. I know it's short notice. Thanks for jumping on a call. I know you're extremely busy with the move and everything else you got going on. Kurt, as always, great job. And I appreciate everything you've been doing for us, for the company. IMAC, Jason, Teresa, everyone at your team over there. And, before we jumped on our call, just connecting with Rockland, because your expertise specifically in the manufacturing niche of helping us tell our story, you've been great, and hopefully be able to help Rockland as well as his journey continues into Indiana. But parting thoughts. It's a great day here in Chicago. We only got about 3 months of weather like this, so we're going to wrap it up and go outside and enjoy some weather.
That's right. Enjoy some weather. Rockland, where can people find you? We're going to put your website, we're going to put social in the links here. Any parting thoughts that you want to share, or where people can connect with you?
Well, you can definitely find me online at ROCKaBLOCK.com. If you're on Instagram, it's ROCKaBLOCK brand. If you're doing TikTok, we're just simply ROCKaBLOCK. So those are the best ways to find us. And, and I'll let people know when the move is going to happen. I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going, but it's going to happen soon.
Well, no doubt, my friend, you're going to be a massive success. We can also find Rockland here on LinkedIn for our B2B folks out there. So again, check out his website, buy some shirts. We strongly encourage you. He's got great, especially the augmented reality. Man, you'll impress your buddies with those t-shirts. So Rockland, we wish you massive success. We appreciate you. Hang out with us for 1 second. And John will be back next week with another wonderful guest.
Sounds great. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys. Thanks.